Okay, continuing on with the wing. We just got done talking about aspect ratio, which of course is the relationship between the width of the wing and its length, if you will. So what we're going to be talking about now is the different types of wing types, or wing planforms, if you will, that you'll encounter. So just to start out, let me get my little drawing tool out. What a planform is we just talk about the general shape of the wing. So for example, this would be a rectangular wing. So the plan form is a rectangle. Um, wow, that's a pretty bad rectangle, but you get the idea. That's your plan form right there. So we'll have other types of wing types. I'll draw another one right here. You'll have a taper wing, which is and taper is the curvature, if you will, that the wing takes at the leading edge. So right there. So it starts off like a rectangular wing, but then this little distance right here, basically from this point to that point, is considered your wing taper. So taper is just basically how much, hang on, let me see. So taper is just basically how much your wing moves back, or the how much the difference between your wing root, if you will, and your wing tip, the distance that the leading edge takes. So um, now, when the FAA likes to talk about it, we'll have different types. So I'll just go ahead and draw them up here. So I'll just get rid of that. So of course you have your rectangular wing. And the reason we talk about these different wings is primarily because we introduce the concept of stall characteristics. Because first we talk about the wing, then we talk about the wing types, then that gets into stall characteristics, if you will, or introducing you to the concept of a stall. Now, a lot of instructors will just kind of throw you in there and let you know how it happens. Well, this is what happens when you exceed the angle of attack on a wing. But the reason it's good to talk about your wing types is because it talks about how stalls start to onset. And that's generally what the whole point is. So, for example, let's talk about a rectangular wing, which is one of the earlier popular wing types. So let's say you take a rectangular wing design, okay? Now in the onset of a stall, now this is going to be your wing root and that's going to be your wing tip. So on the onset of a stall, what are you going to have happen? Well, your your wing is going to stall first at your wing root and then it's going to progress out to your wing tip. So here we go. So these little vector arrows right here are going to show you how the stall is going to progress from the wing root to the wing tip. Okay, so let's just go ahead and see, well, in a perfectly tapered wing, that's how it would work out. But if you start putting taper on the leading edge and the trailing edge, then how is that going to affect your stall? So let's just go ahead and I'll show you. So let's say we had an elliptical wing, which an elliptical wing, of course, is moderate taper on both the trailing edge and the leading edge. So there you go. And I'll try to make that a little bit better. Okay, so here you go. So this is your elliptical wing right here. What you're going to find here is that your stall characteristics are going to progress from the middle of the ring, or the very center of your trailing edge, out towards your leading edge. So these vector arrows right there are going to show you exactly how your wing stall is going to progress. Okay, and this is on a elliptical wing. Then of course you have a moderate taper wing, which is basically the same design. Let me see. Oh, that's not it right there. So now you have an elliptical wing, which is right here. Well, we just drew an elliptical wing. So this is going to be your moderate taper wing right here, which your stall characteristics are going to be the same, which is pretty close to your elliptical wing. So here we go. So we got that, and your stall characteristics are going to go out like this. All right. So that's your moderate taper wing. Then you got a high taper wing. This is when your stall characteristics start to change. Your high taper wing basically is where you have a greater amount of wing root than you do on your wing tip, and therefore any stall that happens is going to progress at the wing tip first and then work its way out. Okay, so that is your high taper wing. Then you have your pointed wing, which the stall characteristic is going to go here straight towards your wing root. And then of course lastly you have your sweep back wing. That's a pretty poor sweep back wing right there, but essentially what's going to happen here is that your stall characteristic is going to progress from your wing tip out towards your wing root. So anyway, this is kind of a different introduction to your wing PlanForm views. You're going to have different types. And then what I'll go ahead and do is I'll just kind of get out of the way right here and just review them all together. So here's our aircraft right here. All right, so let's say we have an aircraft. Let's say that's a fuselage right there. First wing type we discuss is your rectangular wing. So as you imagine, it's just going to be a straight rectangle. All right, there we go. So you're going to have a rectangular wing. Then you're going to have your elliptical wing. There you go. That's a pretty good elliptical wing right there. Then you're going to have your moderate taper wing, which, you know, the only difference between your elliptical and your taper is that you're going to have basically a straight edge. So here we go. Moderate taper right there. Then you're going to have a high taper. You're going to have a pointed wing. And then lastly, you're going to have a sweep back wing. Okay, so those are going to be your different wing types. Hopefully that helps you out somewhat. Again, if you have any questions, and you know, throughout your studies you'll always be going back to this, but hopefully this will kind of give you an idea of your different types of wings and your PlanForms in them. Okay, I'll see you next video.